After reaching Dole Harbor, the captain gives Gon one last hint. He tells him to go to the top of a hill with a lone cedar tree, where he'll find a shortcut to the Hunter exam site. Before leaving though, he reminds them that the Hunter exam has already begun. It also turns out that someone is secretly listening in on their conversation, who then begins to follow Gon, Kurapika, and Leorio from a distance. Gon tells the hint to Kurapika and Leorio, and they see on a map that the cedar tree is in the opposite direction of Zaban City, where the Hunter exam is supposedly being held. Leorio complains about how the pamphlet they were given is barely any help, but Kurapika says it's all part of the test, and that it isn't supposed to be easy. Gon ignores their bickering, and says he's gonna go to the cedar tree anyway. Leorio tries to stop him, saying the bus to Zaban City is about to leave, and that he shouldn't put so much trust in a hint from a stranger. But, like usual, Gon doesn't care. Kurapika starts following him, saying that Gon's behavior is way more interesting than the captain's hint. Leorio says have it your way, and plans to take the bus, when he overhears two senior applicants talking about how all the buses are traps, and never actually make it to the city. Secretly embarrassed, he runs back to join Gon and Kurapika. But little do they know, they're still being followed. They soon reach a small deserted town, and Leorio comments that it's weird that there's nobody here. But Gon says that there's apparently a lot of them, but they're hidden. A group of masked people appear and roll out a stage, where an old woman is sitting. She tells them that if they want to keep going towards the cedar tree, they need to participate in a quiz. And she has a band for some reason. The whole setup leaves our group speechless. She explains that the quiz will only have a single question, and that they'll have 5 seconds to answer. Leorio is confused, but she ignores him. She reveals that this is part of the Hunter exam, and that if they give the wrong answer, they would all be disqualified. She then says that their answer will either be the number 1 or 2, and any other answer would be considered incorrect. They'll be answering as a group, so if just one person gets an answer wrong, the whole group is gonna fail. Leorio complains about this, but Kurapika says that if he's scared of anything, it's that Leorio is gonna be the one that gets it wrong for all of them. Then Gon, with his usual optimistic attitude, breaks the tension by saying that this is actually a good thing, because just one of them needs to know the answer in order for them all to pass. That, and he's also terrible at quizzes. This is when their stalker reveals himself, and says if they don't hurry up, then he's gonna take the quiz first. Leorio's confused again, and Gon says that he's been following them this whole time. Gon knew he's been following them, but didn't think it was important to mention, I guess. They let him go first, because then they'd be able to see what kind of questions they're gonna be asked. The old woman gives his riddle. Evil villains have captured your mother and lover. You can only save one. Say the number 1 for your mother, and the number 2 for your lover. The stalker says the answer is 1. His reasoning is that you can't replace your mother, but you can always find another lover. The old woman says he can pass, and Leorio is furious. He doesn't understand how this can be a quiz, because the answers are all subjective. He says he's just gonna find another route, to which the old woman says if they refuse to take the quiz, they'll be disqualified from the entire Hunter exam. This makes Leorio even more mad, saying that there's no possible correct answer. This makes Kurapika realize the secret of the quiz, but the old lady catches him before he can say anything and tells him to stay quiet. She doesn't waste any more time and gives them their riddle. Your son and daughter have been kidnapped. You can only rescue one of them. Say the number 1 for your son and the number 2 for your daughter. Who will you save? Leorio thinks that she's just making fun of them at this point, and while she counts down from 5, he prepares to fight his way past the blockade. None of them are answering, and the count just continues. He actually grabs a stick and is fully prepared to beat up this poor old lady. When she hits 0, he jumps at her, but Kurapika stops him and says that he's gonna waste the correct response. Leorio is confused again for a 3rd time this episode, and Kurapika says that silence was the correct answer. He says that Leorio hit the nail on the head when he was saying that there was no correct answer, but that he was just too angry to realize it. Leorio asks about the stalker, and Kurapika clarifies that they never even said if he was correct or not, just that he could pass. By that logic, that path must have been a fake one. Now look, unfortunately, not all of you are gonna have someone like Kurapika in your life. Whatever tough spot you find yourself in, try and learn from this, and think through what you're going to say or do. It'll make a world of difference in the long run. If Kurapika hadn't stopped Leorio here, he would have failed the entire Hunter exam. And at that point, who knows how much his future would have changed. The old woman then reveals the real path, a straight tunnel all the way to the cedar tree. she says that a couple lives beneath the tree, and they work as navigators, guiding people who meet their standards to the exam site. Leorio immediately apologizes for being rude, but the woman says she doesn't mind, and that she does this job because she enjoys meeting people like him. She wishes him well, and tells him to try his best to become a good hunter. Suddenly, Gon breaks his concentrated silence, saying that he can't think of an answer, and everyone laughs, saying the quiz is already over. Gon says he knows, but what if he actually runs into a situation like that where he could only save one person? What should he do? The old woman thinks to herself that he's right for worrying about this dilemma. It's the true purpose of this quiz. She says that you must be prepared to face the worst possible scenarios, because harsh reality strikes without warning, and that they must be prepared for the day that their paths diverge. Gon, Kurapika, and Leorio arrive at the cedar tree to find the navigators being attacked by a large, shape-shifting creature called the Kiriko. The husband is injured, and the wife is abducted by the creature. Gon and Kurapika rush off to rescue the wife after quickly agreeing that Leorio would stay behind and take care of the wounded husband. Kurapika is impressed that Gon can keep track of such a faint shadow in the darkness, and at how agile he is. Using that agility, Gon catches up to the Kiriko and tells it to drop the girl. But Gon is surprised and loses his footing when the animal speaks and says, "Catch me if you can." He expresses his surprise to Kurapika, but says this will be way easier if it can understand what he's saying. He catches back up and calls out to the Kiriko, distracting it for just long enough for Gon to speed up and get a hit in, causing him to drop the wife. Kurapika catches her, and Gon keeps chasing the Kiriko. The woman asks if her husband is okay, and accidentally reveals some tattoos that she quickly tries to cover up. But before he even gets a chance to think, Leorio suddenly shows up, saying that he gave the wounded husband painkillers and he's asleep back at the house under the cedar tree. Just then, Kurapika suddenly hits Leorio in the face, and it's revealed that he was a Kiriko in disguise. It asks Kurapika how he knew he was an imposter, and Kurapika says he didn't, and he would have hit Leorio either way for leaving a wounded man alone. Kurapika then puts his weapon to the throat of the woman, asking who she really is. It then suddenly cuts to Gon, who's still chasing his Kiriko. It jumps down from a tree, saying it's time for Gon to pay the price for hitting him earlier. But Gon doesn't even react. He just says, "Who are you?" And it stops the attack dead in its tracks. He can tell that this Kiriko isn't the same one that he hit, much to the surprise of the Kiriko. It asks Gon how it can tell them apart, and Gon says its face and voice are completely different. This causes the Kiriko to burst out laughing. It turns out that the Kiriko were all acting, and that they're actually the navigators, and Gon was the first person that could tell them apart in years. The two Kiriko are the real husband and wife, and the fake couple are their son and daughter. They explain that the hunter exam changes location every year, and it's very hard to find. They help by guiding people to the site, but they don't help everyone. They first test them in order to see if they're qualified to take the exam at all. Kurapika passed because he was able to use vague hints to figure out that they weren't actually married. The hint was the tattoos on the woman's arms, which in that area mark a woman as single for her entire life. He earned the right to take the exam because of how knowledgeable he is. Next, onto Leorio. He never realized the true identity of the husband, but treated his wounds faster and more thoroughly than any other doctor. Not only that, but he continued to reassure the husband that his wife was safe. They tell him that his kindness makes him worthy to take the hunter exam. And lastly, onto Gon. The navigators tell him that his superhuman physical ability and powers of observation make him worthy to take the hunter exam. Therefore, all three of them pass, and the navigators will take responsibility of guiding them to the real exam site. And this is where episode 2 ends. Next time will be the beginning of the official hunter exam. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.